Hi, and welcome to episode 46 of the Noble Character Crafts podcast. My name is Amy, and I am coming to you from eastern Nebraska, where I live on a farm with my husband and our 5 children. Today is Friday, November 30th, 2018. This is a podcast all about my life as a knitter, a crocheter, a hand dyer of yarn, and a sewist. Thank you so much for joining me today. A huge welcome to any new or returning viewers. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope that you enjoy this episode. You can find me online on Instagram and Etsy at Noble Character Crafts. You can find me on Ravelry at Noble Character. And I also have a group for this podcast on Ravelry under Noble Character Crafts Podcast. In that group, you will be able to find the show notes for this episode as well as previous episodes and several other chatter threads. So I would love it if you would join us over there. You can also get in contact with me through my email, which is noblecharactercrafts@yahoo.com. There are also links to all of those places that you can find me in the down bar below. I am currently hosting a knit along with the lovely ladies of the Meanwhile at the Castle podcast. It is called the Be My Neighbor Cal, and it is running until the end of the year. It is for any knitted or crocheted cardigan that you would like to make in honor of Mr. Rogers, who often wore knitted cardigans that his mother made for him. And also included in this cal are any gift or charity projects that you would like to make. So please head on over to the Ravelry group if you would like to enter this knit along. There is a chatter thread as well as a finished objects thread in the Ravelry group, and I will be pulling a prize from the finished objects thread the next time I record, so the first episode in December as well as the first episode in January. So please do enter your finished objects over there. I would love to see what you all are making. I have a few finished objects to share with you today. I have already gifted a few of those finished objects that I made, and I recorded a little snippet before I gave those away, so I will insert that video here. Hi there, today is Friday, November 23rd, and it's the day after Thanksgiving, and we are busy decorating for Christmas today in our house. But I am taking a little break just to kind of rest up because it's a lot of hard work decorating, and I told the kids to go lay down for a little bit while we rested, and I thought I would take this opportunity to share with you some finished objects that I have completed this week. And I have been working, so last time I recorded an episode, I had mentioned that I was feeling the pressure to get started on making some Christmas presents, and so that's what I have been working on. I did decide to set aside my selfish knitting projects that I had been working on to work on some Christmas projects. So my mother-in-law had asked me a couple of months ago to make some dishcloths for my sisters-in-law for Christmas presents. So I actually had this dishcloth already made from back in September. I had made this simple dishcloth using Knit Picks Comfy Worsted in the ivory colorway. And the pattern I had, if you've watched previously, you will have maybe seen that I had made quite a few dish towels, or they're called at your service dishcloths, which is a free pattern by Knitspirations, and in that pattern it uses this same stitch pattern, and so I used the same idea for the main body of the towel in this dishcloth. What I did was I cast on 35 stitches, which is a little bit less than the original pattern for the towel, but then I just did 4 rows of garter stitch, and then on each side there are 5 stitches of garter stitch, and in the middle is a seed stitch pattern, which is just the first row you do the 5 stitches of garter stitch, and then you purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1 across until you get to the other side, and then on the back side you purl the knit stitches and you knit the purl stitches. So that's the seed stitch pattern. So very simple, and these worked up pretty quickly. They are, I used worsted weight for all of them, and I used US size 6 4mm needles for them. So This is the first one that like I had said, I had already had this made up. And so I wanted to make a set of 3 dishcloths for each sister-in-law. I am making them for 3 different sisters-in-law. And so the next yarn that I used was Hobby Lobby. I love this cotton in the, not that one, in the ivory colorway as well, but it is quite a bit different from the Knit Picks ivory. This is more of a, has more of a brown tone to it from Knit Picks, I suppose, and this has more of a yellow tone. But anyway, I used the same pattern again for all of these, and I made 3 of these in this colorway. The solid colors of the I Love This Cotton yarn come with 3.5 ounces or 100 grams, 180 yards, which I was able to make 3 dishcloths out of that, and I still had this little bit left over. Then the next one I made, well, like I said, I made 3 of those ivory ones, so that's here. And then for the next set of cloths that I made, I used this yarn, which I really, really love how this looks. This is also I Love This Cotton yarn, and it's a marled yarn with 1 strand of, well, actually 2 strands of an ivory color and 2 strands of a brown color. And it is in the I Love This Cotton twist, and the colorway is called Monkey Brown. I think that there's this pattern for a monkey, to make a monkey out of it, so the idea is to use this kind of yarn in order to make the monkey. But I really, really love the looks of this. Yeah, it's a 4-ply, and there's 2 strands of the ivory and 2 strands of the brown twisted together. And I just love the look of this yarn. I wish that it came in more colors. I believe that at the Hobby Lobby that I went to, they only had it in this color and then also a red and white twist, which is what that monkey is made out of on the picture there. But anyway, I really love how that worked up. Now these, this skein only comes with 3 ounces or 85 grams, 153 yards per skein, and I was only able to get 2 dishcloths out of this skein, and I had this much left. But I really love it so much. I love the looks of it. So pretty. Okay, and then the next yarn that I used was also I Love This Cotton in the Woods colorway. So it's just a ivory base, and then it has little speckles of brown and green in it, which is really pretty as well. And again, this is the same as the Monkey Brown as far as weight, so it comes with 3 ounces. Yes, same as the Monkey Brown. So again, I was only able to make 2 dishcloths out of this colorway, and again had it all left. Okay, so that got me up to having, I needed 1 more dishcloth. So what I am doing here is I have a set of 3 for each sister-in-law. Here's the first set with the Knit Picks, Monkey Brown, and the I Love This Cotton Ivory. And the second set had the 3 I just showed you. So the 3 different I Love This Cotton yarns has for this set. And then the last set has an ivory and a woods, and then this last one I made using Knit Picks Dishy yarn in the linen colorway. So I really like how these 3 different sets, you know, I like the natural colors of all of them. I, wanted to make sure that they wouldn't be, outrageous colors. I thought, I wanted to make them really neutral so that they would go with everybody's kitchen. So anyway, here's my 3 sets of dishcloths that will be going to my sisters-in-law, and yeah, I'm really excited that I was able to get those done. And yeah, I wanted to record this little segment just because I need to give these to my mother-in-law because she's going to be gifting them to my sisters-in-law via me, I guess, through me. She asked me to make them to give to them. So I want to give them to her this weekend because my one sister-in-law is visiting from Texas. And so she was going to send their Christmas present home with them. And so I wanted to make sure I had these done in time to get them off to them before they left. So anyway, here is my stack of dishcloths that I was able to work on. This is pretty much all I've worked on since I recorded last week, so it doesn't seem like very much really, but it is 9 well, only 8. I already had that first one made, but anyway, I don't think I've had quite as much knitting time as I normally do this week. I've been busy dyeing a lot of yarn and working on other things, so which is also great, of course. But anyway, here are all my finished objects since I recorded last. So I have a few other finished objects to share with you. The first of which is on my cardigan. So this cardigan is not a finished object per se, but I made some new buttons for it. This is my Birdie Fair Isle cardigan. That is a beautiful pattern by Hannah Fettig. And I finished this maybe a month ago, I'm not quite sure, but anyway, I had watched episode 65, I believe it is, of the Fruity Knitting podcast, and in that episode they had talked about Dorset buttons, which I had never heard of before, but they showed a quick tutorial or kind of demonstrated a little bit how to make a Dorset button, and it just piqued my interest because I thought that was so neat to be able to make my own buttons using coordinating yarn to match my garments. And I was interested in making new buttons for this cardigan because the ones that I had on here were a heavy metal button, and when I have the top buttons undone, it was kind of flopping open because of the weight of the buttons. And so I was interested in trying a lighter weight button for this cardigan anyway, and I just thought it would be fun to give this technique a try. And so I looked on a tutorial on YouTube to get a little bit more detail as to how to make a Dorset button after being interested in it through watching the Fruity Knitting podcast. And I will link to that, I'll put the information of the YouTube tutorial that I viewed down below because I don't remember offhand which one that was. And I will also link to that in the show notes, of course. But she demonstrated the technique for making the Dorset buttons so beautifully. I used a 7/8 inch washer for the ring. I'm not really sure if there is a place to buy rings to make Dorset buttons or if people just use whatever kind of a ring they can find. And I just thought that was the easiest thing that I could think of, was to get a washer from our local hardware store, which was, of course, very inexpensive. I think they were only maybe like 29 cents a piece or something like that. And I got 8 of them for making the 8 buttons on this cardigan. And I just used the extra yarn, of course, that I had left over from the cardigan. This is Knit Picks Wool of the Andes. And the 2 colors that I used for the buttons are, the tan color is Mink Heather, and the gold is called Wheat. It's a worsted weight yarn, which I think is quite a bit heavier than what a typical Dorset button is made with. But I, of course, wanted to match my cardigan. And I think from what I understand, Dorset buttons usually look like they are made with much finer yarn. But these worked up so quickly because of the worsted weight yarn, and I really like how they look. So I want to see if I can get a little closer here so that you can see. And I'll also insert a picture of one in progress so you can kind of see how I was wrapping it around the washer. But you just wrap it around the outside of the washer first, and then you make spokes, kind of like on a wheel. I made 12 spokes by wrapping the yarn around and then pivoting and going around, kind of like a clock, for every hour of the clock, so that there's 12 evenly spaced around. And then you wrap around the center section where all of the yarn crosses each other to make this little middle knotted area. And then I took the gold yarn and I just back stitched around each spoke 2 times. I went around twice, and that filled up the gap in between pretty nicely. So I'm really pleased with these. I'm so thrilled to have learned this new technique, and it was so simple, and I really recommend it. I recommend you checking out how to make Dorset buttons, and I really think that I will be making Dorset buttons for my cardigans in the future. I think that it's so fun to be able to match them to your work, especially I think with a color work cardigan, because you know there are so many different options that you could pull from the colors that you have used in the yoke or wherever the color work is, and it's just so fun to be able to match them. So I'm really pleased with this new addition to my cardigan, and I'm so thrilled to have learned a new technique, so I wanted to share that with you all. The next finished object that I have to share with you is another not full finished object, but more of a tweak to a previous finished object that I shared. I think I finished these slippers back in April. So this is the men's loafer slipper pattern, and I will put the designer down below. This is the women's, however, this is the women's one. I started off using the men's one, and no, I think I did use the men's for this because I have pretty large feet. I used the smallest size of the men's loafer slipper pattern for these slippers, and these are mine. I also made a pair for my husband. And I originally made these because I had tried to make a pair of worsted weight socks to keep my feet warm in the winter, and I wore a hole through them within a week. So I'm pretty hard, I guess, on my socks and my footwear. I have really high arches, and I tend to wear out the ball of the sock or the slipper pretty quickly. That's where the hole was on the socks that I had made. And so I had made these slippers hoping that they would be more durable. They were definitely more durable than the socks. They're made using 2 strands of worsted weight yarn, and then they are felted. And I have worn these. I did not wear them in the summer very much at all, but I've worn these. I'm pretty sure I finished them in April, and then of course wore them until it warmed up, and then I've been wearing them for probably a month or 2 this fall. And last week I noticed that I had worked a hole into the ball of the foot. There it is. So I bet I've only gotten about 4 months of wear out of these before I already got a hole in them. So that was a little disappointing, but I think I just am hard on my footwear, I guess. So anyway, I wanted to make a patch to cover up that hole, and so I can get more use out of these slippers. So what I did was I actually knitted up 2 patches that were this size, and I was just eyeballing it and trying to guess about how big I needed it to have it fit the sole of my foot. And of course, as I'm knitting it, you know, I'm keeping in mind that it needs to be felted, and so it's going to shrink quite a bit. So it was just kind of a guess as to how big to make these little patches. I have details on my Ravelry page as to how many stitches I used. I think I cast on 14, and then I did 2 sets of increases to get up to 18 stitches, knitted even for a few rows, and then decreased again to 14, I believe is what I did. But I have details on the Ravelry page for this project. But in the end, it ended up being too large for the sole. As you can see, it was just going to hang over the sides too much, and that's not what I needed. So instead, I just took one of these and I cut it in half. I had washed and dried these twice. I put them through 2 loads of laundry, washed and dried both of them. So they're pretty well felted, and so I was able just to cut this without it unraveling. So I cut one of those in half, and then just, you know, you can see I just stitched it on the ball of the foot, and then I threw them in the washer and dryer one more time. I thought maybe that the two pieces would felt together, but you know, the patch would actually felt to the slipper, but it did not. Maybe it will over time, I'm not sure. But anyway, hopefully this will hold up for maybe another 4 months. I don't know, we'll see. I had wanted to give you all an update on this project anyway, because when I had first made these, I had put on leather patches onto the sole, to the ball and the heel of the foot. And I thought that probably would have been great to keep those on there for being able to, you know, limit the wear that I have on the sole of this slipper. But I have found that these slippers not only get dirty from walking around the house, of course, but also they stretch out a little bit on my foot. They fit really well when I get them out of the dryer after a wash and a dry, but after wearing them for a few weeks, they get stretched out. So I end up washing these about every 2 weeks or so. And with the leather patches, I, you know, didn't want to wash them with the leather on there because I figured the leather would pull away from the slipper. So I took those off the first time I wanted to wash them, and the leather patches are quite tedious to sew back on again, and so I've just left them off. And hopefully this will work well to continue to allow me to get more use out of these slippers. They're wonderful. They keep my feet so warm. I absolutely love them for that. So I think I'll just continue replacing that patch as needed, and I'm happy with them. So anyway, that is my last finished object. My foot was getting cold having that off. So they're really so nice. I really love them. Anyway, those are all of the finished objects that I have to share with you this week. So I will move on to works in progress. The first one is in this cute little patchwork bag that I got from Susie of Tiny Toffee Designs. We did a swap once and she sent me this cute bag. I love it so much. And I actually have not worked on this project in about 2 weeks. I think maybe I worked on it the day of the last time I podcasted, or maybe the next day after that, but I really have not touched these in a long time because as soon as I got the dishcloth yarn, I worked on those for a week. And then since then, I'm trying to finish up the next work in progress that I will show you. But I did make a little bit of progress on these since last time I podcasted, so I thought I would just quickly show you these. These are the Cottage Garden socks, which is a beautiful pattern by Hannah Woodhead of Yarnia Designs. And I'm really loving the looks of these. They're so much fun, and I'm anxious to get these finished, but I'll explain why I've focused on a different project in a bit. But anyway, I'm using my own hand-dyed yarn for this project. The toes, heels, and the cuff will all be done the same in my Better Than Jewels colorway. If I can find it here, I was going to show you the cake. Here we go. And the main color is my Dew on the Grass colorway. These are both on my Pitter Patter base, which is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon fingering weight. And this pattern is so lovely. I just love the leafy pattern that runs up the sides. And as you can see, I'm knitting them 2 at a time. They are toe up. And I love how the pattern mirrors on each sock. And here's the heels. It's a slip stitch heel flap and gusset. And I am now working on a lace pattern that is on the back of the leg. I have made 2 mistakes with this, however. I've not gotten very far and I've already made 2 mistakes. The first mistake is that since I'm knitting them 2 at a time, I'm following this pattern on the foot, on the front of the leg. I'm doing the left sock first and then I'm doing the right sock. So I follow the pattern, you know, it's different for each sock. Then when I went to the back, I did the same thing. I did the left sock first and then the right sock, but this is actually the right sock and this is the left sock. So I should have switched that around, but never mind. I mean, it's not really going to matter if my lace pattern is going, you know, opposite of what it should be, as long as they're mirroring each other still. So I've mixed up the direction in which the lace pattern should be from the right foot and the left foot. Then one other mistake that I made is that for some reason, I knit an extra round of stockinette stitch, which shouldn't have been there. But again, I don't think that's going to be very noticeable. It was right after the first repeat of the lace pattern, and I should have just gone right into another lace repeat, and for some reason I kind of got mixed up on the pattern. Not that it's hard to understand, I was just not thinking, I don't know, I was not paying attention enough, and I just knit another row of stockinette stitch. But I can't really tell. Maybe I'll be able to tell more once I've got the whole leg knitted, but I'm not too worried about that either. Anyway. So here's these. I am knitting these on US 1 2.25 needles. These are ChowGoo Mini Twist interchangeables. All of the needles that I use are ChowGoo red lace needles. They're my favorite. So I think that's all I have. Oh, so I didn't mention, but you might have noticed that my progress keeper is right here. So I only knitted a little over an inch, maybe just an inch since last time I showed you these. But since I have made a little bit of progress, I thought I would just quickly share those. And then the work in progress that has gotten the most attention since I last recorded a podcast is my boho blush shawl. It is here in my Tanny Casey project bag with this pretty twill and print row counter enamel pin, which has come in so handy for this pattern because there's several sections of the pattern that require me to keep track of how many repeats I've done, and so I've been using that for keeping track of how many repeats I've done. It's come in so handy. And I just love that it's on the project bag. You know, it's always so conveniently located. I don't have to dig around for a row counter or anything. It's just right there on the bag, and it's really handy. I really love it. Last time I recorded a podcast, I had mentioned that I want to make a cowl infinity scarf type thing for my sister-in-law for Christmas, which I still do want to do that. And I am pretty confident that I won't have a problem finishing that in time for Christmas. It's not even yet December 1st, so I still have over 3 weeks to make it, and I think I'll be fine. And I really wanted to finish up my boho blush shawl before I cast on that infinity scarf. This is the boho blush shawl which is a pattern by Andrea Mowry, and it's almost done. I only have 4 more rows to knit before I bind off. So here it is. It's very huge right now, and of course it's in solid black, so the lint just kind of shows up really easily on it. But that's okay. All right, so last time I recorded, I was right. Boy, that's really blowing out there. This is a little pumpkin pie progress keeper from Amanda of Little Bitty Delights, and that's showing you where I was. So there are 3 in this shawl. There are 3 sections of brioche. 1, 2, 3, and 2 sections of lace. So I have finished 2 more sections of brioche and 1 more section of lace, and I'm just, like I said, on the very last few rows. I've just got to do 4 more rows of garter stitch, and then I will bind off and add all of the tassels at the bottom, which I'm super excited about. I love the lace pattern. I think it's so lovely. I can't wait to see it blocked. And yeah, I'm just really loving working on this. There's over 500 stitches on the needles right now, so making a pass, across 1 row takes about a half an hour for me. So even though I only have 4 rows left, there's still a good chunk of time that I need to put into this project, but it will be done within the next few days, I think. I am using, again, my own hand-dyed yarn. This is on my Solace base, which is an MCN base, 80% superwash merino, 10% cashmere, and 10% nylon fingering weight. And this is on my Night colorway. And I am using the recommended needle size, which are US 4, 3.5 millimeter. And the other reason why I wanted to wait to cast on that infinity scarf is because it requires these needles as well. And I hate having too many works in progress. So I just really wanted to finish this up before I started that other project. Or I'm always fearful that I will just let things sit around and not finish them. And that really bothers me if I do that. So I just really wanted to finish this before I started my next work in progress. So anyway, I'm super pleased with how this is working up, and I am so excited to have a black shawl in my wardrobe that I will be able to wear with almost everything, I'm sure. I have a black and white winter coat that's kind of like tweed pattern, and I think it will look great with that as well. So yeah, I'm just super excited about this project. And I'm very excited that I'm almost done with it as well. I cannot wait to see how big it is once it's blocked. I think it will grow quite a bit, and I'm excited about that too because I really love big shawls. So that is all I have to share with you as far as works in progress and finished objects and everything. Every time I record a podcast, I like to share a shawl set usually, which includes three hanks of yarn for a shawl set. Today I have a set of 5 yarns to share with you, which is a new faded set that I've come up with. And it is here. Here it is. So this is a fade that starts with light gray, very light gray, and fades to a darker charcoal color. And each of them is speckled with black and a rust colored speck. So hopefully it'll show up. Yeah, there on the lightest color, of course, it shows up the best. I really love how this is simple and of course very neutral, and anything that was made with this set would also go with so much. And the reason why I made this set was for the infinity scarf that I'm going to be casting on soon. I wanted to use these colors as part of that infinity scarf. So that was the motivation for making this new faded set. This is called my Listens faded set. All of my colorways are, the names of them come from a proverb, and this one comes from Proverbs 12:15, which says, "A wise man listens to advice." So all of my colorways are inspired by a proverb, and I include that on the tag that I put on the yarn. And also my business name, Noble Character Crafts, comes from Proverbs 31, which talks about the wife of noble character who selects wool and flax and works with eager hands. So that is the reason behind my business name and how I name my colorways. So I'm also super excited to now be offering a few of my faded sets in mini skein sets. So here is the Listens faded set in a mini skein set. I have 8 different faded sets that I'm including as mini sets in the listing on my Etsy shop. And I will include the 8 different colorways here so you can see. There are 4 different neutral faded sets and 4 different colorful faded sets. So depending on whether you want neutrals or colorful or both, you can certainly have your pick of any of those faded sets. And so it would come with 5 mini skeins, 20 grams each, 92 yards each, on my pitter patter base, which is 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon. Last time I recorded a podcast, I had just announced that I was just going to be starting to sell mini skeins of my hand-dyed yarn. And I have had so much love for that listing, and I'm so grateful for that. I was pretty hesitant when I started selling mini skeins because I was afraid that it was going to be too tedious and I wasn't going to enjoy it very much. but I actually love it so much. I love working with these little mini skeins. They are just so easy to, I don't know, they're just easy to handle and wash, and they dry up quicker, and they're just so cute and fun, and I really, really love them. I am not annoyed by any tediousness of them. So anyway, I just really appreciate all of the support that I have gotten for my new mini skeins that I've listed in my shop, and now I'm excited to be offering a few faded sets. So I hope that you all enjoy them, and yeah, I think they're super fun to just try out samples of yarn colors, and they're so cute. So anyway, the reason why I had dyed up this particular colorway was for the Layer Me cowl infinity scarf thing that I am planning on casting on soon. And it requires a 50-gram skein of the main color, which I'm going to be using my Night colorway again, but on my pitter patter base. 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. And then it calls for a set of mini skeins, 5 mini skeins in a gradient. So that's why I had dyed up this particular gradient faded set in particular just for that cowl that I want to cast on soon. So I'm excited to see how that will work up together. I think it's going to be really lovely, and again, go with everything in my sister-in-law's wardrobe, hopefully. So I'm excited to get started on that. So that's all I have to share with you today. We have been doing pretty well. We've had a lot of sickness lately. We've missed church for the last 2 weeks because of fever from one child to the next. Even my husband is sick, so cough, sore throat, losing his voice. And so anyway, that's been tough, but it's just the time of the year, you know. And the kids have been passing the sickness around to each other a little bit more than normal, so that's kind of rough, but it's okay. I'm really okay with staying home because I'm just a homebody, and so I really don't mind. I mean, I feel badly that we can't get out to go to church and things like that, but it's really okay. You know, it's cold outside, and so it's fine to stay in the house, and we've been watching lots of Christmas movies together, and we've got all of our Christmas decorations up. We put those up last Friday, like I mentioned in that earlier clip. And yeah, it's so much fun. I love this time of the year. It's my favorite, and I'm so thrilled to be in the Christmas season. The kids, of course, love it as well, and we're having a lot of fun doing Christmas activities together and reading lots of Christmas books and things like that. So I love this time of year so much. My husband did get all of his corn picked before Thanksgiving. I don't think I had mentioned that yet. And so we were so grateful to have that all done. Thank you so much for all of you who have mentioned anything about that. So many of you have sent me messages saying that you hope that the harvest was able to be done in time, and it certainly was. And I'm so grateful for all of your concern and your prayers and everything. So thank you so much for that. Other than that, I think that's all I have to share with you all today. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. I hope you all have a great week ahead. Thanks again for watching. Bye-bye.